Good morning, QRX team and Tyler. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're here to talk about reimagining print management, which has a lot of depth behind it. So we're going to cover a lot of material today. Again, just please ask questions should you have any as we go through. I think we can go ahead and kick it off, Veronica, but just primarily really working on how print management really can help reduce cost and even maybe more importantly, improve security and then just support broader digital transformation.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your busy days to join us today. My name is Nelson Nau, and I've been with QRX for over 17 years. I am the director of sales, but I also help manage a lot of our legal customers that QRX supports today on a managed print side of things. Also, as part of our support team, we have Tom Hill, who does help with our workflow integrations, our AI readiness projects, and more importantly, helping customers with data security and data governance projects. Also, as part of our support team, we have Kevin Guthrow, who helps with our lot magic.
Hey everyone, I'm Jadronin, Solution Architect here at QRX Technology Group. I've been with the organization for just over a year, and oh my, what an interesting time for us to be talking about this today. Historically, we have always talked about managed print services within the context of hardware, and the management of that platform has always been just something that was left in the background. Well, today we are here to talk a little bit more about why that is so important and how QRX and Zebraworks can support you in that environment.
Ken Bassam, partner of QRX with Zebraworks, the chief revenue officer. My background has been in legal my entire career, and been teaming up with these guys for the past quite a few years at the moment now, and so excited to be here and share what we've been working on. Tom, who's not with us today, is actually the managing director from a sales perspective in this territory. So as we have further questions and later on and maybe do more customized demonstrations or something, he will definitely play a role. And over to Tyler.
Hi guys, I'm Tyler Schuler. I'm the implementations manager here at Zebraworks, and I've been here for over 18 years now. Started off in support and spent some time in London and New York for our company, and back to Phoenix, and been closely working with QRX over the last few years, and they're a pleasure to work with. So yeah, we're here for everyday solutions and print solutions and all sorts of things.
From a foundation standpoint, we're talking about secure and intelligent print management for modern legal firms, and really what that's meaning and where we kind of team up with QRX, because we're just a small portion of the entire process, but bring workflow solutions to the firm. Today, we're just going to focus on the print portion of the workflow solutions that we bring forth, but there's obviously other things that are part of the platform itself, from cost recovery to scan to different workflows across the board. Really, the layer that we're adding today is just the ability to do secure print or pull printing. There's a number of ways that it's described, but really adding security to the process, which we'll talk a little bit about, and then also being able to accommodate all the policies that need to surround print for law firms, because there's tons of rules, whether we're charging for them, whether we're not, how we're going to do that, accomplish that, who's going to need to participate in that process. And then those rules really drive the workflow automation. So by working with the firms closely to establish those, we're able to improve just collaboration and overall visibility into the process, which oftentimes improves the process as a whole. But really the goal overall is to reduce the footprint, both from a cost and ink and even device standpoint, just to be able to control and kind of manage the process as a whole. I don't know, Nelson, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ken. Managed print services program, to Ken's point, we do help identify potential vulnerabilities through a lot of our customized reporting that we review with our customers on a very regular basis through quarterly business reviews. And a lot of times, these vulnerabilities tie back to having very aged fleet or old devices. A lot of our customers don't realize the potential vulnerabilities that they're 15 or 20-year-old printer may have. So these devices definitely are part of the areas that we like to look at, and we make intelligent recommendations and develop strategies on how to best put forth a fleet that has potentially better security features built into them.
Printers are an attack surface, not just laptops and endpoint technology like mobile devices and, again, laptops and tablets, right? Printers are too. And again, they are devices that store, transmit, and process sensitive data. So for us to be able to, again, talk to customer, be able to kind of secure that and provide a platform that looks at security first and workflow first, I think, is something that we should absolutely all look at and consider.
Absolutely. Let's keep going, Veronica. Depending on what area of the world that you're in, sometimes this is actually legally required to not be able to just kind of print at will, but having to require secure release printing. And we could talk about some of the benefits of that. PrintQ is really the intelligent control layer that helps those policies be enforced. So as we kind of talked about, the entire idea is to queue those prints up. And so using queue management, depending on what rules make most sense for the firm themselves, and queues need to be intelligent, right? You can't just have one standardized queue across the board where anybody can access it and go release it, or you're really not accomplishing some of the policy enforcement and the security that's wrapped around that. The other thing that we found to be really helpful is to enable team management through queues, meaning that individualized queues are extremely important when you're printing private materials or stuff like this. But oftentimes we're printing things that other members of our team should be able to go grab and see, whether it's an assistant grabbing it for the lawyer, or whether it's just. So in addition to applying rules and being able to control what goes into the queue, whether it's private or whether it's kind of not public, right? But for everybody or every member on the team, you need to have the ability to map and match those people in order to make it a productive process. So what we don't want to do is have people go into the printer getting something that they expect to be there and having it not be there. And that's really all managed through the rules itself. And it still is in a lot of instances for those firms where that makes the most sense. But in the last few years, we've been rolling out serverless print deployments as well. And that's something that we've seen firms place a lot of focus and emphasis on, of just not managing a huge structure internally, but how can we distribute that load and then be able to push that out to everywhere? Because the idea, as well as about secure release printing, is it's not, I'm going to print to the same printer that I've always printed to, and I've got to walk there, especially if you're going to reduce fleet. That wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? So you have to actually go further to get your prints now. The idea behind queues and rules and things around that is that actually makes every printer on the same path, depending on, again, rules, because sometimes printers can't handle the print jobs that we're handling. And so that's really where a lot of the preparation and things like that come in. But you should be able to walk to most any device within the firm, whether it's in your existing office, or not existing office, but your primary office or offices that you're traveling to or whichever, and be able to utilize that exact same technology regardless of where you are. The nice thing about this is that it's not working. I mean, it is working in a lab, but we have live scenarios. As I mentioned, for the last few years, we've been working with QRX to do this. We've got some great real life examples, if you will, and there's one that we're highlighting around a 300 lawyer Toronto firm that was able to drastically change their print kind of footprint. And they did it by exactly that. So there is preparation involved where they have to come up and develop the rules that they want to enable and things that are going to work for the firm. None of this is prescribed to you, right? So you don't have to come through and go on the rules that QRX or that Zebraworks is telling you about. The whole idea is to work with the firm on a consultative basis to figure out what's going to work best for that practice area, for that group, for that one office, whichever, and then apply those things. In this 300 lawyer Toronto firm, the results were significant, right? So obviously improved print governance because previously, prints were just going to the device, regardless of whose eyes might have been on them. Oftentimes, you get the thing, and it's kind of a side benefit, but how often have we printed something? We don't want to go all the way to the printer if we haven't printed it. So we just print it again for good measure. And then you've got multiple copies there, and maybe you forget to print it or pick it up that time as well, which increases other problems. But overall, 75% reduction in the printer footprint. And so, I mean, it was significant. And we're talking about going in from the hundreds of printers in people's offices and every floor and things like this to a drastically reduced footprint, which overall reduces print waste as well, which is great. And the users repeat really liking it as well. There's always change management that's involved anytime we're putting in new solutions and changing the way that people work. But what we're seeing from this example, and there's literally hundreds of other examples that we've worked on.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example. I did a rollout for a firm about 300 to 350 lawyers. And when I walked into the offices, you should see the stacks of paper. I think we're all familiar with that when we're in these offices and you walk by a printer and there's a stack there of paper that's never been picked up, or you actually watch and somebody will go walk up and just grab the paper, and there could be a job sitting in there of something private, something that we rolled out our secure print release, and by the time I left, there was no more stacks of paper sitting at the printers. Users weren't grabbing sensitive documents, and it really reduced their waste for one. And the firm also a year later decided to reduce their printers to maybe, I think they cut 20% of their printers out because they no longer needed them. Users in the old days would print, and they would literally think they need a printer everywhere in that office. And when they got introduced to the secure print feature, they could walk to any printer that was available and they could just walk up, log in securely, and release their print job. So it has tremendous impact in legal, and it just helps out the firm, and it improves their waste, their footprint, and everything across the board.
Yeah, and reduced print waste is a interesting way to say it. What that's also inferring is that it's reduced cost, right? So you'll see somewhere between 10 and 15% just from ink that you're printing and paper and things like that, kind of across the board. So there are financial impacts as well. What we hear time and time again when we're starting these or introducing the concept or the idea is, wow, that sounds great. Our people have their printers. They're always going to have their printers. That's where they're comfortable, and we don't want to interrupt the firm's workflow. What have you employed challenges, Tyler, to get around that, or have you just seen that kind of dissipate once the solution comes in, or what's been your experience around that?
It's been multifaceted. You have some firms that will literally say this is the way we're doing it, and they have to follow the protocol, and eventually the users get used to walking up and releasing, and they kind of like that idea. You touch base on traveling to another office, and that's a feature that firms love. So that job is securely stored, and you can print, go travel, walk up to that other office's printer and release it. You're not carrying that paper with you, or you may lose it or spill something on it. There's a time limit that can be set, and you could set it for 3 days, 4 days, 2 days, 5 hours, whatever. Let's say somebody's leaving the office on Friday and they're traveling and they want to walk in that other office on a Monday. As long as the time frame's there, you can walk into that office, walk up to it, print it, go into your meeting, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and I've heard people, we don't all come into the office every day, but heard a lot of people, working on the train and printing jobs from the train. So when they get to the office, they're there ready for them, and it's not something a task that they have to initiate, once they arrive or something. So there's some live scenarios that come in, and we get a lot of these great ideas and use cases just from our users and clients they call back and kind of tell us about it. And I don't know, on the QRX side, I saw a hand go up. I don't know if that's accidental or not, but anything you want to chime into or add to this piece before we move on?
Yeah, Ken, I actually wanted to, ask you and Tyler. It's great for, of course, being able to support the mid-commercial to against some of the larger law firms with 300 plus lawyers. But can you talk a little bit about maybe how a smaller law firm with say 50 to 100 lawyers can benefit from adopting a practice that Zebraworks supports, right? What are some advice that you can potentially give them?
So I'll chime in, and then Tyler, if you have anything to add, you certainly can. I mean, whether you're a 50 lawyer firm or a 300 lawyer firm, the problem that you have with printing is people are still involved, right? And so normally you'll have, now if it's a one person firm, it's not going to be as significant, right? Because the security gaps don't exist. They probably haven't purchased multiple printers for themselves and so on. But in a 50 lawyer firm, those same behaviors of individuals of printing multiple things, confidential documents, regardless of the size of the firm, still are there. I think. I mean, I'm somewhat surprised that it hasn't been more legally enforced from the standpoint of these questionnaires I know that we get as vendors, but I know our law firms get them as well from their clients. Like, how are you securing my data? And it often goes around the cloud, and you put it in the cloud and stuff like this. But one thing that they fail to mention sometime is, hey, are you printing out super sensitive documents and just leaving them for the janitorial staff to pick up and read later on, or something of that nature? So really, regardless of the size of firm, beyond one, or a couple, if we're realistic, I think there's use cases around that. And it really comes down to best practice. In the smaller firms, you're going to see a little bit less potential waste, right? Just because it's not multi-office, and there's not floors and floors of different printers and things like this. But the security aspect and the reduced cost, I think are two things that firms of any size can take advantage of.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Ken. I think that no matter how large you are or how small you are, there's always a security risk, right? You have cleaners coming in, you've got maybe one or two people. You may want to be printing something that you don't want your colleague to see. It's private. There's an ethical firewall there. And so it doesn't matter if you got 2 MFDs, 3 MFDs, 10, 20, 30, if you got 5 users, 2 users, 10 users. Not only is it a security standpoint, but how many times do I print even at my home printer, and I'm like, I really didn't need that, right? Did I need to print it? Or I printed it, but I got to make a change. Now I got to go print it again. Well, I can go delete it, or it'll auto delete after a certain time. So from a security standpoint, it's huge. And from a cost saving standpoint, it's probably just as huge for firms depending on what they think of costs.
I mean, it's pretty clear that adopting a print management platform like Zebraworks can help customers, not only gain visibility into what they're printing, but also effectively reduce what they're printing. Can you talk a little bit about some of the other workflows that you guys are helping law firms with in optimizing when it comes down to just legal processes and reducing the time it may take individuals to do certain tasks? I hear, for example, ScanQ is, one of the tools that's also there within your guys' offering, as well as other workflow automation tools. Just want to kind
Yes.
of hear a little bit more about how we can help customers
Oh,
save
definitely. Thank
beyond.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have what we call queues, and it's multifaceted and it's very customizable. Let's say a law firm has as their office services scanning mail in, and they can select the user that it's going to, and that user will receive a notification and go to their desk and sit at a web browser and look at their scans and decide where those need to go, whether it's their document management system or whether it's junk mail. They can delete it right there. A lot of firms are adopting the document management system. That is their go-to point, and it's been their go-to point for a long time. You do want to keep everything in your document management system. That is your file repository. That is where historical documents are. And firms are taking their file boxes and converting them digitally and sending them to their document management system. So queues is one aspect of the process and workflow to get it to the end user so that they can do it, whether it's mail, whether it's just normal scanning. and then they can sit at their desktop instead of standing at the MFD and choose the workspace and the folder structure that they want to dump it into for the document management system. I know when you stand at the MFD, they're smaller screens. They're not like sitting at your desk, and you may fumble around a little bit on those screens. Q's makes it simple. You touch the Q scan it in, go back to your desk. You have your big screen. You can do whatever you want. You can edit that document. You can move pages around. You could do whatever you need to that document and then route it right into your document management system. We also have integrations with OneDrive, SharePoint. So we've got some solutions that help our firms out quite a bit.
And it's really coming down to, anything that we do typically has a queue after it, right? But really what that's identifying or signaling is that it's one platform. So if you were to roll out print management and you say, hey, you know what? These workflows are really nice. Our user experience has been really great, getting great feedback of this. It doesn't take too many steps to then incorporate like a mail queue solution, as Tyler mentions. And, when we first created mail queue, we thought, how simple is that going to be, right? All we're doing is replicating, pushing a cart down the hall and putting mail on somebody's desk. But when you go to digitize it or scans, like Tyler mentioned, maybe the DMS is the best practice for all documents to go to, and that we run into firms where they're scanning all mail to the DMS. But truthfully, all mail doesn't need to go to the DMS, right? So having that stopping point, both from a quality control standpoint and from a just again user experience standpoint of being able to make those decisions when I have time and I'm not standing necessarily at the MFD without all the appropriate information of where that should be routed to. So in essence, at the same time that you're going to print up your prints, all those workflows still exist for cost recovery, for scans, even something as far as like records queue, which would allow you to do big back scanning projects and apply that exact same logic, exact same rules to all those documents that are sitting in boxes offsite or onsite or wherever that they might be. So once you adopt the kind of workflow strategy across the board, which involves pretty much all things involving paper, right? So scans and prints and records and things like this, you can apply those same rules and same workflows kind of across the board. And the key is a lot of firms are saying, well, if you could do all this, we could get rid of some point solutions to where we're not dealing with 3 different companies to accomplish 3 different things regarding our paper. How do we bring that all together in a much more managed way, a much more streamlined way? So I can just look at one dashboard and kind of see my paper universe as a whole, if you will, and see the areas where we could continue to improve or the areas that we vastly improved just by working with QRX and Zebraworks to kind of develop or implement those solutions. So we should probably keep going, Veronica, on that. I think we've dove into this just a little bit, but any stuff that we want to point out here on the QRX side?
No, I think it's just you guys have honestly touched on the importance of print security and management tools and document workflows. And I think for a lot of law firms, like these are some serious pain points that exist today. We want to highlight, again, just keep on hammering in the point. Anytime we talk to customers, we always talk about it, the importance of print security. And again, printers are an attack surface device, just like laptops and tablets and mobile devices. These are devices that, again, holds data, transmits data, right? So be able to kind of secure that is something that's incredibly important. And here at QRX, we have actually built a program that is designed specifically for that. We honestly looked at some of the challenges that our customers are facing today, right? When we talk about legacy challenges around toner management, servicing printers, those still exist. But now, in a world of AI and data, we really have to ask ourselves, how are customers securing their printers and basically making sure that they're compliant, that their security configurations are in line with the security policies that organizations have.
I love that attack surface idea. And I love the percentages that are represented on this screen, right? That is 60 to 70%. So this isn't a small problem. This is something that firms commonly overlook. And especially when so much emphasis and focus is built around, AI and digital and things like this and trying to secure that. Don't forget another attack surface, as you were just mentioning, right? So I love thinking about it that way. And Tyler, you had something to add.
Yeah, so another thing that we offer is we have standalone applications for non-cost recovery, but we can also enable an authentication screen so that the device is literally locked down. You don't have that physical attack, somebody walking up to it and accessing your MFD at any point. So it requires somebody that has firm access in order to get in and do a copy job, do a print job, do a scan job. And that way it locks that device out from anybody walking up to it and actually using it. You may have somebody that has a USB stick, right? They could walk up and do some stuff with that device. Well, that's where security is as well. You can disable USB access into those devices. And again, with our screen, you can force them to authenticate in order to access the device anyways. And that's a first layer of stopping somebody from getting into that device.
Yeah, I think there's actually a documentary called The $1 Billion Heist, which truly kind of talks about an attack through a printer that almost took out Bangladesh's central bank and the amount of dollars that was actually siphoned out. And again, it was done through such a clever technique, right? And again, we got to remember that the bad actors, they're getting smarter too in a world of AI where, again, you can create programs at the whim of just a couple of hours. They are just as equipped to using those tools for also attacking infrastructure, especially legacy infrastructure, if we don't talk about security and take that seriously. Amazing. So, we talked about the importance of managed print services, and then talking about print management and having our partner here, Zebraworks, giving an insight into why this is so critical within the legal vertical. Here at QRX, we actually developed a new program called MPS Plus, the management of your printers and your print management programs, right? So from a security standpoint, how can we secure those printers, make sure that we are pushing out your security updates, the policy updates, firmware updates, doing proactive monitoring of these assets. And again, we are talking about quite a few printers. When we talk about the legal vertical, not only do you have MFPs, you also have a lot of standalone desktop printers. So what's the strategy in terms of securing these things, right? It is something that a lot of our customers are, again, tend to put on the back burner, but we are here to kind of bring that conversation back up and really highlight the importance of taking a broader look at this space.
Excellent.
And here we basically just did a side-by-side analysis of our program and the advantages that you can basically get, not only in adopting a management tool like Zebraworks to help automate a lot of the workflows and bringing in a layer of device security that allows you to not only manage what is being printed, but also reduce your print that you're doing in your environment. But let's talk about what we can do to kind of support that environment and bring that up, right? So for us, the key thing is just total control and management of your print environment, which, let's face it, IT today tends not to really have a lot of time to say that, hey, you know what, this is a top priority task for us. So for us to be able to come in, do an assessment, be able to highlight which of your devices are compliant and which ones can be managed more efficiently, and be able to put a program around us here at QRX. And with that, I can pass it back to the Zebraworks team for any closing comments. And from there, we can basically wrap up this webinar if there are no further Q&As.
I think that's good. I've learned something, which is always fun about these things. And so certainly appreciate you guys joining us. This is a great example or illustration of all the different things that come about when you're just applying, the constant or consistent configuration kind of across the board, putting in the rules that are specific or work best for your firm or organization, increase security, reducing cost, and improving user experience. And I think anytime you can combine those three things together in a joint solution like we have with QRX and Zebraworks, that you're off to a really good start. Any closing comments, Tyler?
No, I think we covered quite a bit. That was very interesting. I learned some stuff too. So
Very good. Well, excellent. Well, I thank everybody for joining. I appreciate and special thanks to the QRX team and their team who did all the hard work of helping put this together and just scheduling and getting this put together. I know it's everybody's really busy right now, so it'd be great to have this recording, and we will make that available and share it out to everybody who was able to join, and then to those that might not been able to. So if you don't want to write it down, we will put this out and kind of send a follow-up thank you that just includes our information, so you know how to get a hold of us. If you have questions that pop up as soon as we hang up, which is often the case, please feel free to reach out directly to either of us. And if it's more applicable to the other team, I'm sure that we can find each other and make sure that you get your questions answered. All right. I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks again, everybody. Appreciate everybody's time, and have a great rest of your day.